Hi everyone, I'm Anthony O'Flynn. I haven't made a video since I've come back from holidays. I've just been catching up on everything. I've had an absolutely fantastic time in Japan and Vietnam, two countries I can't wait to go back to again. I've been back for a while, but I've just been flat out catching up on everything here. And a big announcement is also that I will be starting to run workshops from my home. The renovations have progressed enough to do that, so we'll be running workshops here from home. We've got two workshops coming up. First one is in November in Brisbane. It's the Tantra workshop. It's one of, if not the longest running Tantra workshops in Australia. It's a full weekend workshop. You can check out those details at holisticyoga.net. And the second workshop is the Enneagram, which is a very powerful tool for personal development and increased self-awareness, which I'll speak about in another video. But positions are limited for that workshop and they've already started to fill up. That's also in November. That's a one-day workshop here on the Sunshine Coast. So you can also look at all the details of that on the website. So the context of this video is actually something quite profound that has taken place in the last few weeks, which is, in my view, the precursor to a major energetic shift for the collective. So basically, there has been a rousing of an energy point in our energetic system that is directly connected to the soul and our individual soul. And that has been on a very deep and continual profound activation for approximately 1 to 2 weeks. This leveled off and dropped off about a week ago, something like that. These activations are coming and going all the time, but in the 25 years that I've been doing energy work and aware of the chakras, the secondary chakras, and been on the path of yoga, meditation, path of Tantra, nothing like this has ever happened before to me. And this is quite a profound activation. Initially, I just thought that it was something less significant. It was just a minor activation. But this point, this secondary chakra, it's actually quite difficult to activate in the context of being activated spontaneously. It does have a relationship with the heart, but I'm not going to say where it is because this is quite an esoteric information. It's something I would happily communicate in workshops and coaching, mentoring sessions and so on, but not just randomly on the internet, because it is quite an advanced initiation. So what's important to note though is that even if you're not aware of this, or you can't feel the chakras, or you're not aware of the energy, that this is actually having an effect on the collective as a whole. I don't consider what has happened to me just to be unique to me in any way at all, or special or anything like this. I'm just blessed that I have a ability to perceive the energetic bodies clearly when things are getting activated, and also through my own practice connect with those and activate them through the techniques and meditations and so on that I do. So it's exciting because of the depth and the continual activation that this has taken place, and is very, very specific. Like it's a very, very specific thing. It's not something that like will be a general activation of the crown, the descending of the grace into the crown chakra, Sahasrara, divine wisdom, all these amazing qualities. Not to dismiss that in any way, but personally, I have never experienced something like this in 25 years. So I have waited to see what would happen with this activation, and I'll now communicate what I think is going on with it. Because when I think about the deep activations that have taken place, particularly in 2012, and the last major one that we had, I mean major, that lasted for like months and months, up to, I don't write these things down, maybe 5 months, maybe 6 months, difficult to really put a date on it, was in 2016. Now in 2016, that was not really on the radar for a lot of people. The awakening, I guess, depending how you look at it, define it, what context you give to it, really took off for the collective in the lower levels in 2020 and beyond. But the point I'm making here is that the 2016 activation primed people who are on the path of awakening. Maybe they were before, maybe they started then unconsciously, started going to yoga, doing meditation, starting to get interested in esoteric information, whatever. Is that it primed them at a subtle level. And what I'm talking about when I'm explaining these activations, they're in the subtle body, they're not in the physical body. So they're connecting to our energetic biology, the energetic universe, that prime people to raise their consciousness, to raise their vibration, to start to have a richer inner world, to purify, to awaken, to transform. Before the events of 2020 and the scamdemic, because then that critical litmus test showed, to a degree, it's not absolute, and there are a lot of nuances to these things, who was going to start to be on the path of awakening. And again, I've made this point in many different videos. I don't consider this to be definitive in any way, but it definitely was a significant temporal marker in this context. So the next point to make is that the subtle world controls the physical world. So prior to people going through a spiritual transformation or the awakening of their consciousness and elevation of their being, the subtle world shifts, and the subtle world shifts in their being individually. And this is very important to understand, because this is prior to a shift in the physical world. And the majority of the conversation in the awakening community, however you want to look at it, is really on what's occurring in the physical world. It's not so much what's occurring in the subtle world, although that again is by degrees, it's not absolute. But there's a continual focus on the various topics of geopolitics and the financial system and all the other topics that are very relevant to our lives. But beyond that, what's causing the turmoil, the shaking of things up, the collapsing of things, the emerging of new things? It's the subtle world, always. Same with our own personal consciousness. It's our connection to the subtle world, the energetic world, in the terms of how is our emotional body, which is obviously not physical, how is that being primed? How are we energizing that? How is the universe energizing us? And our mental body. And this is the key point, because what I'm expecting now is that there's going to be a major transformation of the collective that's going to unfold over the next 1 to 2 years. It's really difficult for me to put a time frame on this, because the causal world, it doesn't work in the same way that linear 3D time works. So we're evaluating time and space from a very different perspective. So the real question as to how will this unfold in linear time, it's not really possible for at least me to say. But I don't think that this huge activation is imminent. I don't think it's in context of various geopolitical events occurring. It's not in relation to the circus of the US election or something like that. That's just that's a foregone conclusion some time ago. That's merely a selection. It's just a pantomime to consider that there's this titanic struggle between red and blue. I mean, that's just a fantasy, really. So it's nothing to do with that. But what it is going to determine is something very positive, actually. So this is a very positive video in the context that because this activation is in the higher chakras, that something positive will come of it. It may look like it is like a crisis of some kind in the beginning. It may not. I can't tell you that, but because it's not in the lower chakras, like Svadhisthana chakra, even Manipura chakra, the lower chakras, then it's not going to unfold with some mass formation psychosis like we saw during the scandemic, or this hysteria where the collective is just opting for, well, self-selection in a certain way, and people opting out, and all this insanity that we saw over the last few years, although this will continue as well. This is actually going to escalate. But it shows that, at least for the people on the awakening journey, that there will perhaps be some breakthrough in the collective that allows more light in. It is possible actually that it has some relationship to the whole UFO, UAP, ET phenomenon, which I have a whole other series of personal insights to share with that, of what's occurring with that, which I do expect that to really intensify actually sooner rather than later, but not this year. My feeling is definitely not this year for now. There could be, that is only the one phenomena, but again, that's personal speculation from me. I can tell you without any doubt that this energetic activation, I can be 100% certain of. I can be 100% certain that it is extremely powerful and extremely, as it's never happened to me before at least. But what direction that will take, I can only speculate on at this point. But there is something really on the horizon with the UFO phenomenon, but that could be some years away at this stage. And I'm not talking about what I call the inverted disclosure, which is just disclosure through the mass media and the governmental channels and all that. That's just completely controlled from A to Z, and managed and so on. So I guess the final point is to say is that we have a huge obligation to our soul at this time to really heal, awaken, transform, elevate our being, and reflect what we call in yoga Atman, as profoundly as we can. That there's no, it's like we don't want to leave anything on the table, and this term in sport, that you don't want to leave anything on in the dressing room or whatever in this cosmic game that's unfolding. It's like a colloquial saying, at least here in Australia, that we want to go all out on this. And I don't mean doing stupid things or whatever, but that we owe it to our soul to try to elevate our being as much as we can. And for me, that's a prompt for me personally, but it's also a prompt that something is shifting in the collective, because it is connected to the heart, this Jivatman that we all have. And the question is, how are we reflecting the absolute? How are we integrating the absolute? What are our aspirations for our own soul journey in this lifetime? Are we even on one? I mean, I know most people watching this will be, but are we even on one? What does that mean to us individually? How are we able to contribute, make a positive impact? It's not about being successful or accumulating material resources, although that may be necessary to achieve our soul mission. But how are we able to support this ongoing paradigm shift in our unique way? And how are we honouring our soul in the process? Because we still are at the point where we have a lot of people who are still wanting to believe in the external saviour myth, which is very beautiful, but that's for children. We have come here to participate in this paradigm shift, and how are we doing that? And these sort of questions should be provocative in a certain way. They should be confronting. They should be relevant on a daily life. And it doesn't necessarily mean shifting something so much in the external world, but perhaps something in our internal world. And all these questions and ideas apply as much to me as anybody else. So I'm expecting there to be it's going to be big, this is, because of the activation. It went on for a long time. And I'm talking in days. Like, I'm not talking like it went on for half an hour and then stopped it. We're talking about ongoing. And it's so specific, like it's so precise, this point, and it has so much significance for our life path and our destiny, which we often overlook in terms of our daily to-do lists and hustle and bustle and getting things done, and meanwhile, you know, years and decades can go by and we're just totally checked out and disconnected from our soul, which is perhaps an unconscious choice, but it's a bit like we're missing out on the real action of what's occurring at a cosmic level, at a galactic level. And I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to see how things unfold in the next 2 years with this. And perhaps I'll get more clarity on this specific topic, but I still think that part of this journey is to celebrate the mystery, is to celebrate this mysticism, is to really bask in this vastness of the cosmos, the energetic cosmos, with really only a very infantile understanding of the mechanics of it and the workings. And I think that is part of living in Kali Yuga. But I do think that will change to a degree as we move through this shift, and we will have some of the answers to more of these big existential metaphysical questions. And those people who are on the awakening journey know exactly what I'm talking about, and that this mystery, although it needs to be celebrated and nurtured, I think also we would like some answers to what is going on, particularly in regard to how crazy this planet is and the way forward. But perhaps that's just part of the whole experience as well. We'll see. But I will go into this deeper and elaborate more on some of these themes, particularly the energetic updates more generally, on the equinox update, which I have a lot to say about because I haven't made any videos for quite a while. But we're living in such a profound time of awakening, and it's really amazing to see people hearing the call and starting to not get caught up in the loosh and see the kind of deceptions that are going on at many different levels. And that's a far more complicated story than for this video. But anyway, thanks for watching. We live in epic times.